Thanks very much, Keith. Welcome, everybody. Obviously, the regular members as well. And we all know it should be. Just to tell anybody who's not quite sure, what I'm going to do, we should have had Kevin Gallagher, the ex-Blackburn Rovers Celtic player. He was going to be, unfortunately, from our point of view, but we fully understand, with the lockdown being kind of pulled back a little bit, he's now into his one-to-one coaching sessions, and he starts at 11 and goes through till 7, so he's working busy. We'll try and get a little snippet of him sometime later. We can get hold of him. But so unfortunately, Jed, because Jed had sent us a couple of things about the fact that he is a kid. It's actually Kevin Gallagher, not Paul Gallagher, Jed. But anyway, but so he can't.
Yeah, I believe so. I've got that. I just took a bit quick backtrack on the emails, and I thought, I think I've got the wrong Gallagher. It's like the Gallagher twins, and you get the wrong one in Oasis. It's a nightmare.
Yes, it was. It was a member of Oasis that you were referring to. Do you think this is sporting memories? What do you think we're going to have? It's going to cost us a fortune to get one of the Gallagher brothers. Get both of them, we could end up having a fight. But no, as I said, and I know Margaret, the big Blackburn Rovers fan, she had a lot of questions she wanted to ask as well. Sorry, Janet, I'm saying. Janet, the Blackburn Rovers supporter, and unfortunately we can't get around that. But we have got one guest. I'll mention about the quiz in a bit. We've got a guest with us, David Small. And David Small, I believe, is... are you from the Preston North End sporting memories, David?
Well, no, I met up with them last week for the first time on Zoom. Right. And I'm going to try and get... once we can get out of lockdown, we're going to all meet up at the Deepdale Labour Club, I think, and we're all going to have an authors' night together. And we're going to... There's a few other North End authors who've been contributing to the community hampers and that sort of thing. So we're all going to get together and we'll have a bit of a book night together. But,
yeah, because I believe you've actually brought a book that you've written, and you just give us a quick synopsis as to see now. There's a businessman. Put it to the screen, then we can all see it. The full title. Put it right up to the screen. Just me and my football, David. So what can we get? What can we expect to read out of that when we get older?
Well, it all started. I suppose last year I realised that I'd been supporting Preston North End for 40 years now, and I wanted to write it as a bit of a tribute to my own dad, who started taking me in the late 70s. So I started watching North End in 1979, 1980, I think it was. Steve was playing then, and I've always wanted to write a book, and so I just went through all my old programmes from not just Preston games, but all the old football games that I've been to, and just wrote down all my memories of them, basically. So I've put them all in chronological order. It's not just North End games. I started going to watch Man United quite a little bit in the mid '80s when Preston were really bad, when we ended up second from bottom of the whole league. So my dad wanted to start taking me to watch some half-decent football as well. So we went to watch Man United one week and then Preston the other week. So I'd go from one extreme to the other. At that point, Man United were literally top of the table of the old First Division, and Preston were literally bottom of the whole 92 clubs back then for one season. There's the England games that we all remember as well. There's stuff about just not just football games, but the games that I remember as a kid when, there's the stuff about the Highsall fire, the Highsall disaster, the Bradford fire, the Hillsborough disaster and all that. So it's just my thoughts on football, really, but it's all how it's tied in with my own family. My own granddad started, obviously my own dad. My granddad started watching Tom Finney. Then he took my dad, and obviously he started taking me. And now I've started taking my own daughter. So it's about 4 generations of Preston fans. And ever since my dad started going in 1960, 61, that was Tom Finney's very last year as a player. And obviously, after he retired in 1961, we got relegated, and we've never been back up into the top flight ever since. So I've never, ever watched my team. Unlike you Blackburn fans and you Bolton fans out there, you've all seen your teams in the top flight. Whereas,
can I just mention, David, it's changed considerably.
It has. It's just it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But at least you've been up there.
Yeah.
And obviously, Bolton, you deprived my team of getting up to to becoming not a nearly team, because we've been a nearly team for 40 years.
Yeah,
Our
so-
first chance
yeah.
of getting up to the Premiership, Bolton beat us 3-0 in
I
2001.
was going to be a gentleman, David. I wasn't going to mention that, but I wasn't going to.
You were the better team, much the better team.
Well, it was just. I think on the day itself, it was boys against men, really, because we had a really
absolutely,
experienced team.
Big Sam Allardyce's team. You had,
So,
and you actually went up the following season, and you were top of the league for the first 3 games, I think.
5 games, David. 5 games.
5 games. Yeah,
But it was just an incidental thing, you know.
Not that you're counting or anything. Yeah, so I think you won your first game 4-0. I think back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then 4 years later, I really thought it was our chance when we got to the playoffs against West Ham. But Bobby Zamora scored, and we still didn't make it. So we still remained a nearly team. And obviously then we slipped back down to League One, and we got back up in the glorious 10th time of asking playoff campaign. No other team in the history of the playoffs has taken 10 attempts to actually get anything out of them, unlike Preston. So
can I tell you a trivia stat about Bolton Wanderers? It's always a question. Which team has been in the top division the most seasons and never won it? It's Bolton Wanderers, and it's 78 times we've been in the top division and we've never won it.
Have Bolton ever won it at all?
No,
never.
No. 78. The nearest we had, they declared the Second World War.
Really?
We were in second place, and then so you think you've got problems with lockdown.
At least you won the FA Cup since 1938, unlike us.
Yes, we did. But anyway,
with that lockdown funding.
If anybody wants the book, David, how do they get in touch with you?
Right, so they can either get in touch with me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, but it's available on Amazon as well. Just type into Amazon "Just Me and My Football" or my email address. I'll put my email address up on the Twitter page for this as well.
Lovely.
And I'll get in touch with Keith, and Keith can do what he can for me as well.
Yeah.
And so you can either get it direct from me and I can sign it for you, or you can actually just buy it direct from Amazon. And I've had some lovely reviews, and as I say, it's not just about Preston. It's about the experience of most football fans, really. Football fans that go along week in, week out, and we never win anything. Just like most teams never win anything. Yeah. But you still carry on, don't you?
That's why I can never understand, these Manchester United supporters who live in Bournemouth.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to get bitter about this. I don't want to upset Keith. I'm not going to get bitter about this, because he knows we always rib each other about it. But one of the great things we talk about our clubs around here. We're all family clubs, whether it's Blackburn, Burnley, Preston, Bolton. We're all.
I won't go so far as Blackpool though.
Now, don't start stirring. I've enough people to hear anyway. Anyway, thanks for that, David. So, everybody can be a good read. The only thing I can register with me there is the fact that you went from Tom Finney to Steve Elliott. That's a big drop, that.
It's a big drop.
It's a big drop.
Not too big a drop, but there was a few players in between, I suppose.
Yes, right. Yeah. What I was going to do, as I said, normally we have a quick chat. What I was going to do, I've got a couple of quiz questions, and then we're going to have a discussion group. And I'll tell you about that is a quiz question. And again, I don't know if you know this, David, but all the microphones are muted. I'll just ask a question. It's not going to take a lot. We're not going to have. It's not a general knowledge quiz. It should have been fun, really. And if you think you know the answer, put your thumb up and I'll come to you. So I'll try and spread it about, and we'll have a different chat about different people. All right? We're talking about nicknames of clubs. Right, so your first one, which team are nicknamed the Cobblers? The Cobblers. David, oh, yes. Oh, I'll come to Graham Lockwood. Right, Graham. Are you a Preston fan, Graham? Sorry, we just get it. We'll unmute you any second. You're muted at the moment. So we're just trying. Andrew's obviously looking for you on the screen, aren't you?
Oh, found him. Nice.
Yes.
All right now.
We found you, Graham. Go on. So are you a Preston fan?
No, believe it or not, I was brought up in Crewe, and I was a Crewe Alexandra supporter. Not many of them. Yeah, so I supported them through thin and thin. They used to get the open top bus out if they avoided what do you call it? Not relegation.
Really?
Yeah. They had to go in every year and get re-election.
Yeah, the re-election. You have gone some problems.
Yeah,
haven't you?
yeah.
But
So
the crew team approved have brought some great players through, haven't they?
oh, they have, yeah, in later years when Dario got involved. And lots and lots of players. But of course, when I was very young, that was when they got hammered by Spurs 13-2 and that type of thing, you know.
We forget days like that. Football sport, we forget days like that. So,
yeah.
well, answer to the question then. What team are known as the Cobblers?
It's Northampton.
It is Northampton Town. Well done.
Yeah.
Second question to everybody. Right. What team is known as the Saddlers? Oh, Mags was up first. I'll have to come to Mags there. Look at that for a thumb. Right, Mags, so we'll come to you. Walsall. Right. Is there any connection? Why you came up so quick? What do you... Oh, of course, Steve used to play. You played at Walsall, didn't you, Steve?
I did.
How many years were you there?
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. You know, I never realised that. When I was looking at the questions, I never realised. I wouldn't have put it in if I'd have known.
Who do you think was who played for Walsall?
Who else do I think played for what? Do you mean other famous player? Go on, tell me,
Willie,
Steve.
Willie Norton.
Willie Norton.
Yeah.
Willie Norton.
Yeah.
Who's Willie Norton?
Used to play for North End.
All right. Anyway, moving on. So,
Before you move on,
I think...
Norman, before you move on, can we just clarify which Walsall that is, Mags? Is it Walsall in the Midlands or Walsall in Poland?
No, oh, honestly.
Yeah, the Midlands.
No, there's a story coming. Go on, Mags.
Go on, Mags, why? Is there a story about this?
Yeah, when Stephen played at Luton, we were in temporary digs, if you will, and Luton paid for it. Anyway, I got a job in St Albans at this hospital. So after my first day, I went home and I said, oh, it's really nice. I think I'm going to settle on this ward. It's a male, like the old geriatric ward at the time. So Stephen said, all right. And I said, why? What's the matter? He said, oh, there's been a deal done today. He says, I'm going to go and start playing for Walsall. I said, what? We're moving to Poland?
Did he
gave stuff away,
did he actually, no, be honest, Mags, did he actually think he was going to Poland, or was it the fact that you misunderstood the Walsall?
No, I thought, I hadn't heard of Walsall. So I just thought, oh, heard of Warsaw, Poland.
Yeah. Funnily enough, a lovely story from my father-in-law when he had friends and he was going down after the war. He was going down to what we call Walsall, and he went there, and he came from Tilsley, so he was a right broad, you know, foundry worker. Pit, used to work down the pit as well. Don't like that, love, and you know what they're talking about. And he went down there and he stopped in the car and asked somebody for the way to Walsall. 3 people didn't know. And eventually, this Midlands guy, I can't do a Midlands accent, but he said, yeah, don't you mean Wuzzle?
Walsall?
No, Wuzzle, Wuzzle. And he went, W-A-L-S-A-L-L, lad. And he said, that's Wuzzle, it's down there. You know, but it just shows you, doesn't it? Just shows you. Very fancy that. Next one, who were known as the Pilgrims? The Pilgrims. Let's see where we've not gone. David Draycott, Yorkshire. He doesn't know much about football, but we'll talk to him anyway. Yes, David.
Plymouth Argyle.
It was Plymouth Argyle. Yes, the Pilgrim Fathers, of course. Right. I keep asking you this every week, and it always. So, which is your main team, David? Is it Leeds United?
Yes. Yes.
Leeds United.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard you. You don't need to.
Yes, Norman.
Yes. We'll keep our fingers crossed, because when they come to this situation with regard to the promotion and relegation, I think one of the disadvantages, you've got Leeds and West Brom up there, and if they determine themselves, they'll abandon promotion and relegation if they never get round to it. But I think, from your point of view, I think that's still in the balance at the moment.
Yeah, it is very much. Yeah. They're waiting for their meetings that they're having. They're in full training now, doing this 2 meters apart training thing, that there's no real decision being made on when the season's going to recommence or if it's going to be abandoned.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all hanging up in the air at the moment.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed because it would be sad for Leeds. And I'm not just saying this because they're a great team. They deserve to be up there. They've had a great history as well. Talking about the 2 meters apart, Bolton Wanderers back four have had that for the past 6 years. That's why we've had problems. Right. Who was known as the Hatters? What team was known as the Hatters? Ken Dunquin. Ken Dunquin. Right, Ken, we'll come to you in a second when we demute you. We'll just come to you when Andrew can find you. He's looking in the middle of the screen. Second row down in the middle, Andrew.
Yeah, I found them. It's just really slow today for some reason.
It's probably because it's so busy, isn't it? I can't hear you, Ken. Your microphone's still muted.
Try it at your end, Ken. It's not responding.
Try it at your end, Ken. Oh, that's it?
Right. Yeah.
Right, so...
Luton Town.
Luton Town. It was Luton Town. Ah. Which comedian's favourite team was it? Which comedian? It was his favourite team. Luton Town. Was that not Eric Morecambe?
Eric Morecambe, I think, yeah.
It was Eric Morecambe, wasn't it? Eric Morecambe. Right. Next one. Which team were known as the Brewers?
Burton Albion.
Who said Burton Albion? Somebody said it is Mike's Open. It is actually Burton Albion. Oh, it was Steve, was it? Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. You didn't play for them as well, did you?
No.
All right.
I just knew the team.
Right, I'll tell you what, we'll put that on one side now. What I was going to do to try and involve everybody, we were trying to think of, when we found out we hadn't got Kevin with us, we thought we'd try and get a subject that we could all have memories of, because that's what it's all about. Not necessarily sport, but memories. And I was thinking, obviously, today and for the past few weeks, the weather's been good. We're in the holiday season. And after looking at this social gaps that we're supposed to have, when you look at Southend-on-Sea last weekend, it was frightening. But when you talk about looking around, and I always say this, Carol, I always leave, most of the people of our generation would have certain, Carol is a lot younger, of course, as Mags is.
Yeah. I might not be quite as much younger as you think I am. But...
And any other ladies, Janet, yes, as well, and Anne, apparently. We've got to make sure we don't upset the lady. So, let's talk about holidays. When you were a child, what were the holidays that you used to go on? What were the memories? If anybody wants, if you put your hand up like that, and anybody wants, we'll just find out. We'll go to Carol first. Carol,
yeah. Yeah, most of my childhood memories, we used to go to the same hotel, same fortnight, same hotel, Westgate-on-Sea, just outside Margate.
Wow. Like, where did you live though?
Oldham.
Right.
So it used to be like all day. Well, my dad worked for the post office, and they had 2 or 3 hotels in the post office and British Telecom as they owned at the time that they owned. So it was everybody that stayed there were staff and their families, sort of thing. So we'd go and it'd be the same. So obviously you got the same time every year, and we'd meet up with the same people every year, and we're still in touch with quite a lot of them as well. And this is like, I think I was about 18 months this time I went, which I can't really remember. But then from 8, 9, 10, we'd end up in the same room we were in the same room. And it was great because it was just literally the hotel. There was a table tennis table and a dartboard. But other than that, there was nothing brilliant, nothing sparkling about it. And what we used to do during the week, like my dad being a bit of a doer, he would get people up and get volunteers, and we'd organise bits of competitions during the week. So there'd be a darts competition, men's and ladies darts, table tennis, dominoes, and then on the Friday there'd be a sports day for the kids.
Right.
And we'd just have that, and all the kids would get a little present and whatever, and then it was like pack the kids off to bed, and then the adults would have their party. Right. Sort of thing. And then you'd have to drive home, if everybody was going home on the Saturday, you'd drive home rather green from
from the night before.
Yeah. You know, so yeah, there was some.
But I should imagine, with all respect, going from Oldham to Margate, it must have been like going into a different world, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, it was, I mean, obviously there was no M25 or anything like that. So it was, you know, let's say it would literally take you all day.
And can I, I don't want to, I'm not being ungentleman, but what year was that? What year are we talking about?
Back end of the 70s.
Right.
So, yeah.
You see,
from about 78 to 81, 82.
Yeah, a lot of the people looking at us now would think about that was a posh holiday for you. Because when we used to go, when we were kids, and they used to have, up until a few years ago, they used to have what they call the holiday fortnights, the weeks holidays.
Yeah, you know, Oldham had its works weeks.
Yeah, Oldham, Bolton, Blackburn, and that's because the fairground, the big fairgrounds used to go from town to town. And they called it the weeks holidays because that's when the mills shut for a fortnight to do any work on the machines and everything. So that's why they staggered them, because they followed them along all the time. Yeah. We used to go to, like a lot of people, we used to go to Blackpool. And we used to think, you know, that was the end of the world, you know, going to Blackpool in the car. And we all went, I'm sure we all had a similar situation driving along there. And, you know, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we've only just left our house. Right. My dad, and again, the motorways weren't there then, but my dad was driving. And he used to have one little thing. He used to say, you know, the first person to see Blackpool Tower gets a sixpence. Now, this was a lot of money. There's people, Mags is nodding. I think everybody's dad did it.
I think we've all done that. I mean, even we did that as kids.
But the point is, as kids, we never knew. Every time we went round a port, there is that. No, that's a pylon. That's a pylon. And after about, it used to take us about an hour and a half, at least an hour and a half, 2 hours on the old roads. And by the time you got into it, we got bored. And of course, as soon as my dad came around this certain corner, he spotted it because he knew it was there. Yeah. See, there's Blackpool Tower, right? I get the sixpence. He never gave us a bloody sixpence for years. We could never get a tanner off him. And that's what he did. And he used to have, and we used to stay because you all had aunts and uncles in them days. With my Auntie Stanley and Uncle Jim it was. We stayed, you know, near Victoria Park on the Ansdell Road it was. But as we were driving along this road, he used to work in the tower, in the Tower Circus. And he was always, you know, quite a big guy. And my dad used to have a lovely thing. We say, look at tower on right-hand side there. You see that right-hand side? It's about 3 o'clock. Yeah, your Uncle Jim will be moving there in about 20 minutes. And we looked at it. There was nothing there anyway. By the time we got a few, and then we'd gone a few roads, left, right, and centre. And then the tower was on left-hand side. And we were convinced he'd moved it. For years, we were convinced he'd moved it. But anybody else got any memories? Any particular? We'll come to Anne and Barry, the bottom left-hand corner. We'll wait to see. We unmute you on this phone. This is because everybody's using Zoom at the moment, aren't they? Which is a godsend in that sense. But we're trying to get to Anne and Barry in the bottom left. Is that your problem, Andrew, or is it? It can't be Anne and Barry's because they're already into. Oh, they've gone. Where have they gone? They've gone over here now. No, we will get to you eventually, Anne and Barry, with the Zoom thing. No, can we unmute them all, Andrew?
I could try.
Oh, we've got Anne and Barry now. Yeah. Did you? You did that from your end, Barry?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So can you hear me, Mother?
Right.
Can you hear me, Mother? Go on, Barry.
Down to Devon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you all right. So, what memory?
We used to drive down to Devon and Cornwall. Family of 4 in a little Austin 7 and all the luggage. And we had to stop overnight on the way down.
Yeah.
And we all slept in the car. Well, me and my dad slept outside usually on the grass verge at the side of the road. And my sister and I were always tending to be travel sick. So my mother would sort of get out and walk a few miles with us. I think she probably walked pretty much all the way to Cornwall with us at one stage, because we were both out. We'd do a few miles, we'd feel sick, and we'd move on again. So yeah, they were good memories.
We used to, when Val and I started courting, we used to go. Well, we used to go down to Torquay. And we went on the Yellowways coaches. Remember the Yellowways coaches?
Yeah.
Everybody's nodding that. And you had to stop at Cheltenham to change the driver, because they were only allowed to drive for so many hours, you know. But when we got to Torquay, it was like being abroad. because they had palm trees.
That's right, you did.
Sunshine and palm trees, and they had foreigners. Because a lot of French students came over because it was literally just across the water, you know. But we said it was like good. Anybody else any other memories? Thanks for that, Barry. We've got Mike. Hello, Mike. Yes, we're with you.
Are you with me now? Yeah, you are. Just a bit different, obviously, living in Northern Ireland. We used to go to the Republic of Ireland, a place called Bundoran on the Donegal coasts. And it's like a small town which used to have slot machines and amusements. And we used to alternate between Bundoran and a place called Rossanoula, which was just up the coast. And it was just like a village, and there was no slot machines, just a big sandy beach. But I mean, I was interested in Carol saying that they went in a hotel. We never saw a sight of a hotel. We went in a caravan every year, caravan. Oh. And I mean, there was six of us. I mean, there was, 4 children at the time. There's actually 6 children now. But, you know, I can remember going on my dad's Austin Morris, 3 in the back, 3 in the front. And yeah, we had some great times, but, you know, it was all playing in the sand, really, and playing football and out and about, running around the caravan site. But yeah, it was good. But yeah, very different to now. I mean, my kids wouldn't understand it at all. And I actually take my wife, when we go back to Northern Ireland, I always take her back to Bundoran, and she says, oh, we're not going down there again, you know, because it hasn't changed very much. You wouldn't believe in all them years.
That's what we get of our wives when we are playing. We are trying to be romantic and remember the place that we spent and the time we spent all those years ago. We used to, when we had the kids, where Andrew and Nicola, we used to go to Scarborough. We went to Scarborough and we went in the Primrose Valley Holiday Caravan Park. We did exactly the same as you in that sense. And it just shows, we went, I think 7 years running we went, and we loved it. The fresh air and Whitby up there, it's a beautiful coast. But the point is, we were always there as a family. We were there, we went for 7 years. It was only on the 5th year we realised they had a club. You know, but we don't drink. I don't drink. Val only has a baby shower, she did at the time. And we used to have so much fun on the over there in the caravans. We had a luxury caravan. We didn't have one of these small ones. You know, I mean, I like my creature comfort. You know.
There was a ballroom in this Bundoran. I mean, that's because it was Irish love their music. And I always remember as I got older, I managed to get.
Just a minute. There's only the Irish can have a ballroom on a caravan park.
Well, it wasn't on the caravan park. It was more in the town. But I always remember that I went to see. Would you believe I went to see Mungo Jerry playing at this ballroom many years ago.
All right.
That's right. Nice one, Neville.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's right.
Neville, you were going to. Just a minute now. Steve and Mags have come up with something rude there.
Yeah.
What were you reminiscing about then, Mags?
I used to still go to Blackpool.
Sorry, that's Neville.
Because they had pop music there.
They did.
Not on the pier, but in the whatever it's called. And that particular one I remember particularly well was Adam Faith.
Right.
And Emile Ford.
Right.
Does anybody remember them?
Emile Ford and the Checkmates. You know, I don't know whether you know this. I don't know whether you know this, Neville, but Emile Ford.
Yeah.
No, I better not say this. This is good. This will go on YouTube, so I better not say it. When we go off the air, I'll tell you the story. But anyway, I suddenly remembered how it ended. Right. So, Stephen Maggs, what were you laughing at before? You were chuckling over something.
Mike mentioned Mungo Jerry.
Yeah.
And we were listening to it before.
All right.
Just shows you, doesn't it? Just shows you.
It does. Triggers it.
It's funny that we can actually go on to that. I was going to talk about holidays, and I was going to talk about pop music. Which were your favourite pop artists? Where were your favourite? Which ones did you go? You know, the stars of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and which ones did you actually go and see? Obviously, that was at the holiday times. Were the best things. Mungo Jerry and people like that. You know, and Little Richard, who of course sadly died a couple of weeks ago. Val and I, we went to watching Little Richard at Bolton Casino, and I made it 1964 it was, and the Bolton Casino, and it was the old what they call the chicken in the basket area. You know, they all had chicken, all the, you know, park hall and stuff like that, chicken and soup in the basket in Wigan. But it was, you know, chicken in the basket and all that kind of stuff. And Little Richard was on. We were on the balcony and the dance floor was at the underneath us, obviously. And they had 2 groups on stage, not just one, 2 lots of drums, 2 lots. And if you ever saw Little Richard and heard him sing, he was crazy, music-wise, but he was a little crazy anyway, but that's another story. And they started off, they played a couple of tunes and then he came on and they started vamping. You know, as he gets to the piano, he starts banging. That's what he's, you know, along, you know, with all the stuff he used to do. Excuse me. And he started vamping and he started to Good Golly Miss Molly and all the rock and roll tunes. And as he did that, down on the dance floor, because we were 16, 17, 18, all the 45-year-olds who had been brought on, the 40-year-olds had been brought on with it, all these old people with the lads with the DA hairstyle and the Beetle Crushers and the drain pipe trousers, which was so outdated then, so outdated. But then, and all the women with these 24 underskirts on, and the hair, you know, and they all started doing the jiving and they were throwing these women over the shoulders. And Val, I remember saying to Val, I said, oh God, it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? It's like dad's dancing at a wedding. It's a bit embarrassing. And he started singing, 28 minutes he sang before he actually said anything to the audience. He never stopped, 28 minutes. Great, absolutely magnificent singer and entertainer, great entertainer. Anybody else any favourite pop stars? Anybody else any favourite pop stars or favourite music artists you went to see, you managed to get to see? Yeah, we've got John Kay. Yes, John. We'll just unmute you in a second.
Yeah.
We're not with you yet, John. We'll be with you in a second. We're just trying to sort this slight delay in unmuting. I still can't hear you, John. It's quite pleasant, actually.
I've done it myself, Norman. I've done it myself. I can mute it again if you want. No, I just happen to be wearing this T-shirt. I don't know if you can read that.
The Rat Pack is back. Right.
Despite our close professional relationship, I didn't know where you were going to mention this. I just happened to be wearing it. No, I was fortunate enough to go to Las Vegas in 2011, and I hated Las Vegas. I don't know what anybody's ever been, but I personally didn't like it.
Never appealed to me, I must have.
Oh, yeah, but they had this Rat Pack tribute. On the old strip, it was in one of the old clubs that Sinatra and Dean Martin had been in, and it was really, really good. It was excellent. And they had a Marilyn Monroe lookalike, and she got somebody up from the audience whose wife was in the audience. He was an American guy, I think, and sang "Happy Birthday" to him.
Oh, like she did to Jane.
Yeah, and it was really good. And he didn't know where to put himself. I can't read well. Some of the things I said, she did or said, I can't repeat. But it was really, really good. So yeah, I went to see the Rat Pack tribute in Las Vegas in 2010 or 11, I think it was. Right. So yeah, I can recommend that if they're still around. I suspect they're no longer with us, but anyway, no, that was good. Excellent.
Well, they have a lot. They have, you know, like a lot of tribute bands. My son Andrew promotes a lot of tribute bands. You know, the McFord and the Genesis, which is Andrew's group that they do. Not Genesis, but the tribute band Mama. But you know, some of these, some of the crowds that they get and some of the audiences they get are phenomenal because it's of our age and it's the memory. It's triggering the memory. It's the songs that we go along to watch. They won't be the original members of the band, but it's a song. And there's a lot of the English people who do the Rat Packs and a lot like the Three Tenors. You know. Yeah.
Well, the guy who did Sammy Davis was excellent.
Yeah.
With his singing, he couldn't dance like Sammy Davis, but he sounded just like him. And the Dean Martin guy was good. And I don't mean the worst in the sense that he was bad, but it's very difficult. I don't know anybody who can do Frank Sinatra, and this guy could sing, but I don't know anybody who can actually do a good impersonation of Sinatra.
He had that definitive personality, and
I've never heard anybody. Mike Yarwood tried, I think, but I've never heard anybody who could do an impersonation of Frank.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's an absolute classic.
Incredible.
Anybody else any music memories? Any other music memories? Anything in general? No? I mean, we were talking about. Oh yeah, yeah, Barry. Yes, Barry.
Can I just ask you, Norman, who wrote all your songs for the Weavers, and how did you go about it?
Who wrote all the songs? Most of the songs, because most of the songs that we did were obviously folk music. We did songs about, you know, Lancashire and the Northwest. That was our forte. If you were Liverpool, the Spinners, they were all sea shanties. We did it about the spinning and the weaving and the mining industries. So a lot of them were traditional songs. Alan Bell, God bless him, from Blackpool, wrote some beautiful songs like Bread and Fishes and Windmills, which were lovely songs in centre. I wrote three songs on the first couple of albums because I was the only one involved. I was the only one involved in folk music when we formed the band. Tony, God bless him, who we sadly lost 6 months ago, the tall lad with a beautiful voice. He was a singer. He's a club singer. He used to do the Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra stuff in the, you know, when three houses of bingo in between, you know, that kind of stuff in the clubs. But he came watching us. You know, he was a fan of the group I was with before, and he just liked the folk music, you know. So then we said, well, why don't we form a folk group? So it was really, in fact, with all respect to Mike here, Mike Jackson, the only songs that he knew were the songs from the Clancy Brothers, Tommy Makem and the Clancy Brothers, and most of them were rebel songs. And in the 70s and 80s, you didn't sing Irish rebel songs anywhere. So he had to really put them on one side until everything got calmed down. But no,
so you just searched for Lancashire dialect songs, did you, basically?
The Lancashire dialect, yeah, I wrote it. The three I wrote were Lancashire dialect songs. We got the words from a friend of mine, and I wrote the music for it, you know, and we did the stuff there. But we just, again, there were traditional songs and contemporary songs. Traditional songs, you don't know who wrote them, so they're handed down from generation to generation. Contemporary songs are songs which are written by them, and you have to pay royalties. But on the traditional songs, you don't have to pay royalties. So we sang a lot of traditional songs, so that we didn't have to pay the royalties on them. The traditional songs were telling all about our history, all about our region, and that's basically what we did. And and they'll still keep going on and on and on. The contemporary songs, like pop music, that changes every 6 or 8 weeks, you know. Yeah,
we've seen you live a few times.
That's very good of you. Thank you for helping to pay my mortgage then, Barry.
You're welcome.
we had a great time, I've got to be honest. It was, you know, it was phenomenal. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and it was phenomenal. But yeah, that was the way it goes. I mean, we talk about the music and the way it changes, pop music changes. They always said that you remember the music from your teenage years. And I was 16 in December 1962 when the whole of the pop music world changed. What changed it in then? December 62.
Beatles.
Yeah, it was the Beatles. The Beatles' first record came out. Anybody know what the Beatles' first record was?
Please. Was it Love Me Do?
It was Love Me Do.
Yeah.
Correct. Hey, I'm very impressed there, mate.
What
was the first number one?
Oh, I can't. Maybe something like Help or...
No, it was all before that. Anybody know what the first number one was?
Please Me.
No, it wasn't Please Please Me. It's only got to number 2. No, it was actually From Me to You.
Oh.
It was a third one. But it was From Me to You.
Right.
Graham's actually saying something. Yes, Graham. I think you're going to have to... Can you press your... Oh, yeah, we've got you.
Okay. I've done it. Yeah, you press the button yourself and it works. I just... Talking about the Beatles, when I was at secondary school, I was in Preston, and we used to go to the dinner time sessions at the Cavern during the summer, you know, summer holidays, etc. But the interesting thing about the Beatles, the first time I ever saw them was at Maria Magretti Youth Club in Liverpool.
Maria Goretti, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Maria Magretti.
Goretti
Youth Club.
Youth Club, yeah, in Ribbleton, yeah.
So how many were there? About 2,000 audience, was it?
Probably about 20 or 30, I suppose. You know? Yeah, but that was true. Yeah, but obviously we hadn't a clue who they were at that point. But you know, a couple of months later, they'd taken off like a rocket. You know, it's
that was a phenomenon. You know, when you going from there, and then you know the whole of music changed. The whole of the teenage structure changed. They were the band who brought in the haircuts and the collarless shirt, the collarless jackets and stuff like that. And all the kids not only wanted the music, they wanted to be like the Beatles. They wanted to do this and to do that, and the whole revolution changed. A good trivia question. Sorry, Ken, you go on. You were saying, Ken?
Yeah, no, just reference to music, the music side. You'll remember the Piper Club, Norman, in Preston?
No, I couldn't travel that far. It was out of bounds for me. I heard of it, but that was too far for me, the Piper.
Well,
it was a den of iniquity, I believe. That's why I never went there, Ken.
No, well, to be honest with you, at the time I was the chairman of the Lancashire Evening Post Sunday Football League. Right. And Stuart Robinson, who did the advertising for the Piper, along with other things, he went there this particular week and he says, oh, by the way, the chairman and his wife are coming, to the club on Saturday. So that was it. And so Barbara and we had two friends come up from Swindon in Wiltshire and stay with us. And I said to John and Pat, come on, I said, I'm taking you to a club in Preston. You'll enjoy it. So we parked on top of the roof, which was owned by the coal board, I think, the building. And we went in, and as you went in the entrance, there was a wee cloakroom on the left-hand side. And there's this big guy with a white tuxedo on, there's 2 steps up, stood in this doorway. He was a giant. And this girl said, what name is it? And I said, Duncan. And he said, well, you had to pay for your cloak, So the girls put in the coats. And he said, follow me. And the bloody place was heaving, honestly, absolutely heaving. It was built in like a circle. And right in the middle, halfway around the circle, there was one table left on its own. And he marched us to this table. And I said, John said, what's going on? I said, I don't bloody know. And then he put us down at this table. And I mean, the place was packed, and they're all looking at you to think, who the bloody hell's these lot, Anyway, the girl came up, the waitress, who I knew from Whaley Dale, from where I came from, at Maureen, and she says, what are you having to drink, Ken? And I said, well, 2 pints and a gin and tonic and a vodka and tonic, Right, so she goes away, she comes back and I said, what are you, love? No, it's on the management. I said, no, hang on a minute, there's something wrong here. So, cut a long story short, this went on all night. And then but when you used to go in the club, you used to get a ticket as well for chicken in the basket, like you said before. Yeah. And I didn't know. And she said, go to the meal. And she said, have you got your tickets, Ken? I said, no. I said, this guy just marched us in, sat us down here. So she goes away. She comes back, it's fine. And she comes back with menus. So we had steaks, John and I, and the girls had their meal. And she also brought a bucket with a bottle of the champagne in it, plunked it down the side of us. And he stood up with his back in this half circle, like keeping an eye on us, And I thought, I don't know what's going on. John says, what? So another round of drinks, won't let me pay again. And we went on all night like that. And then near the end, the top of the bill then was Jerry Morrison, Jerry Morrison, the basement. Yeah. And Jerry got up, he gets to do this daft thing at Old MacDonald's farm, at the end. And he gets these 2 girls up from the other side of the club. And John sat here and Barbara sat here. And Pat and me are at the back of him. And he said to Barbara, what's his name? And she says, it's John. Big hand for John. And he drags John up. And of course he says to John, what's your pal's name? And he says, Ken. So he drags me up. And this fella nearly had a canary stood there, he flipped about. And we did Old MacDonald's farm. And then we sat down afterwards. And Jerry Morrison says to us, what are you having, lads? I said, no, you're all right, lads. No, he says, come on, drinks for the lads. So 2 pints come across. And I'm not telling you we were alive. We went out of there at about 1:30 in the morning, absolutely out of bread. And I drove home. I had a Vauxhall Vector with a column change, front roof, come down this slide and drove home. And that was Well, I mean, hell of a night. Didn't cost me us a penny. And he was just completely out of the blue.
So why did they think you were somebody from the protection?
Well, I don't know whether
or the mafia or something like that.
Honestly, to this day, I still don't know. I don't know whether he thought I was the chairman of the Evening Post or the chairman of the Football League.
Oh, right.
That's the only thing I could think of. And I never got asked to ask Stuart because Stuart went to live in Derby, went to Derby County, and I never found out. But John had a very good job in the railway in Swindon, and he went home, and then during this thing, he was doing a talk to the people in the railway, and he had to talk about two subjects that had nothing to do with the railway, completely off the. And he talked about that night, and he also talked about Crown Green Bowling because he went with me on a Tuesday night to watch us playing, and Brian was playing, Brian Duncan, who, to me, in my opinion, was best Crown Green bowler that's ever lived.
Yeah, he had the sportsman at Leeds, didn't he?
Correct.
Yeah,
that's right. And Norman Fletcher had the other pub.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And
I've got Ken.
Yeah.
This is sounding like this is your life here. I've got a feeling we're going through and I hate to stop you talking.
No, you're right. No.
I'm just going to say, in case, is there anybody else who wants to tell us of the exploits or to tell us of the? I forgot what we're talking about. We're talking about music.
Music.
We're talking about music. That's how it starts. Yes, Barry's up again. Yes, Barry.
I was just thinking before, there is somebody who can sing like Frank Sinatra, and he's called Harry Connick Jr.
Yes, yeah. Michael Bublé, I think, is probably the other one.
Bublé is pretty good too, yeah.
Well, Harry Connick Jr., when they all used to have when he first hit the stage and the publicity, everybody said, well, why is this guy singing old-fashioned music? Because he was, and then all the kids suddenly realised that this is good music, this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Bublé came along and did exactly the same thing. And, good musical lasts forever. Yes, John Kay.
I'd just like to say to Ken, in the early 70s, when that incident happened, the firm that I was articled to acted for the Piper and the owner, Lino Della Pesca. And we got instructions on this guy who spent a night in there and didn't pay his bill. And I never discovered who it was, and I know now. So there'll be a letter in the post, Ken. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, Lino, by the way, Lino is a very, very good friend of mine.
He's a lovely guy. Yeah. I've seen him for a long time. He's a lovely bloke. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And when they made the bill out, it won't be the same price as it was years ago. It'll be the current price, and I can tell you that. But we talk about situations like that. Sorry, Passy, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago about the Starlight Club in Blackburn. Well, when I was coaching, we used to go down there quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we were friends with Lionel Morton.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the
Four Pennies.
Four Pennies, of course. And they were packing up, and they played in Blackburn at Starlight for a few nights on the trot. And that weekend, they were retiring. And we decided that after that performance, we would go Tuckles to another friend's pub. So we were all in cars, all racing up there. And I got pushed. I was going from somewhere around Cherry Tree up onto Livesey Branch Road, crossing over there. And the road was quite wide. I was on the inside, and somebody pushed me over, down a banking, through a fence, and finished up at somebody's back door. And I had to go and get a tractor then to go and get my car out. We pulled the fence down. But by the time all that happened, the party was over. I missed the party.
No such thing as a free meal, is the Passy? No such thing as a free meal.
Oh, nothing there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Four Pennies. Which all you Blackmen or not? Which was the biggest hit? The Four Pennies.
Juliet.
It was Juliet. Why would they call the Four Pennies?
I don't know.
I can tell you why. Graham, press your button. Yes, Graham. What? No, press. We're going to have to try. We can't hear you, Greg. Right, we can hear you now. Go on.
Yeah, I heard a story that they used to meet in a coffee bar on Penny Street in Blackburn.
Yeah, that's part of the real reason that is it Penny Street or Penny Lane?
Penny Street.
Penny Street. What's the music shop in Penny Street?
Oh, it might have been a music shop. Yeah.
What was the music shop?
I don't know.
I met the people who actually they had a record shop. They sold record, and they up until a few years ago they were still going. And I talked to the family who owned it, and they actually sponsored the Four Pennies, and they called them the Four Pennies because they met in Penny Street.
Right. Yeah.
Lionel Morton.
Lads.
Yeah.
Then.
That's going back a bit. I saw the Four Pennies in the Beachcomber in Bolton. You know, what they call the dungeons. It was near Preston's Jewellers. Oh, that brings back memories. One particular story, I used to go along, obviously, right from the early days to the folk clubs. And this is the story, I wasn't there, but a friend of mine was telling me that it was at Manchester Sports Guild, and they had all the top folk singing. You know, they had Ralph McTell and all the top ones when they came over. And if you go to a folk club, you have the resident group, and then you have the guest artists, and you can do a floor spot in the middle. You take your guitar along, you can do a floor spot, and everybody listens, and that's how you learn. That's how you get into the business, and you learn the songs, listening to other people, actually the new songs, performing them. And they said this young lad came up. He said, "Dark-haired lad, nice lad," and he sang 3 songs, and everybody thought this guy sounds really good. And Jenks, who ran it, who was as tight as a duck. Anyway, he just didn't like spending his money. And this guy said, "You're really good. Would you do another?" He said, "If you give me 3 or 4 quid, I'll do you another couple of songs." And Jenks said, "No, lad, you're not that good." And that young gentleman was Paul Simon.
Really?
It was Paul Simon, and he was on his way home. He wrote a song, the song "Homeward Bound." Yeah. He wrote that on Widnes railway station.
Really?
He was travelling around the country, came down to the northwest, and he was going back from Manchester. So he came down to the northwest. He'd written that at Widnes railway station, and then he got the train over to Manchester. He was flying from Manchester Airport, and he sang that song, and he sang a couple of others as well. And then Jenks said, "No, you're not good enough for 4 quid, lad."
Norman, can I just say goodbye to everyone? I've got to go. I've been summoned by my daughter to go and pick her up from somewhere.
No problem. We'll be finishing in a minute. But thank you very much for joining us, David.
Yeah, cheers, everyone. I look forward to meeting you again. And
cheers, David.
All right, have a good day, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
But,
Norman, yes. when I heard that John Kay starting to show his T-shirt there, and it said "Rat," I thought he was going to say he'd been to see the Boomtown Rats.
The Boomtown.
See the age difference there, you see.
Let's be honest.
Definitely not me. Definitely not me.
I can never see John Kay at a Boomtown Rat.
Oh, that's a pity. That's a pity.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh dear. Do you know when I first went to university, I was watching Eddie the Hot Rods, followed by Mott the Hoople, followed by Queen, followed by Elvis Costello, Lindisfarne, Bad Company, and the Boomtown Rats. That's where it came to mind. Honestly.
Hey, and you look at them now, you look at the artists and the effect that they've had on the music industry.
Oh.
But what amazes us, Val and I talk about, my wife and I, we talk about this, sadly, because a lot of the old rock stars from the 60s, are getting into our generation. A lot of them, they're passing away, and before they had the lockdown, they were having the funerals, and you got these funerals, and you got the people walking along at the side, and then you suddenly looked at somebody and thinking, that's the group I used to follow, but we only remember them as they were when they were on television, because that's how most of us saw them on television. And you look at them, and then you look at them these days. I saw a picture of Charlie Watts. Mind you, Charlie Watts has looked like that. He's looked like that all his life. It's like Keith Richards. He's had 4 lives, Keith Richards, I'm sure. But Charlie Watts, and he just bought it. It was in the paper, and I thought, and he still looked exactly the same. So he's the only person that's not changed. But
did he sound? Does he sound exactly the same, Norman? Because I went to see, there was a dual concert on in Manchester about 4 years ago, and it was Paul Simon and Sting. And when Paul Simon came on the stage, he sounded exactly as he did in his records. And I just cried because I just couldn't believe I'm sat here listening to the real person, Paul Simon. It was absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. I remember my son, if I can bring Andrew in here, we were talking about, folk music and sing the song, John Denver. Now, Andrew, you were into Queen and Genesis and all that kind of stuff, and you went to watching John Denver, didn't you?
Well, I have a bone to pick with you about Queen.
Me or Mike?
No, you.
Me?
When I was 16, I was sat in my bedroom doing something on the computer, and you came in and said, Andrew, I've got some free tickets here. Do you want to go and see Status Quo at Main Road in Manchester? And I said, no, not really. And then forgot about it. 2 weeks later, I learned that Status Quo that night were actually supporting Queen. Oh. And that Queen show was the third to last gig that Freddie Mercury ever did with Queen. Now, if you'd have come into my room and said, do you want to go and see Queen? You're going to have to put up with Status Quo for a couple of hours. I'd have said, yeah, count me in. But you did.
How many years have you held that grudge?
A considerable number of years.
How many?
Well, I was 16, so
31 years.
31 years.
I don't know about anybody else, but I love these Prince domestics that we get on these. The highlight of the session.
I'll make notes for next week if you want.
Yeah. Hey, mute your microphone now, Prince. We'll talk about this later.
I think Andrew should be the guest speaker next week.
No chance. No chance. But anyway, it's flown past. It's flown past. It really has. But it just shows you. It's like what we said before. I know the organisation is supporting memories. If we talk about football all the time, we'll get to a stage where we think, well, yeah, but we spoke about this and we spoke about that. Sadly, we should have had Kevin. It would have been great if we could have had Kevin, and I'm sure we will at one time get some form of an interview with him. But I was chatting today with Andrew Mayon, and I just said, I was thinking about, what about pop music? What about holidays? I'll do pop music this week. I'll do holidays next week. And they're just all blended into one because that's how it progressed. But it brings back great memories, doesn't it? You know, when you think of what you used to do when you were children, and the times that Andrew and I and our family, we went up to the holidays in Scarborough, and you think, wow, that's what life's all about. My mum, God bless her, said, you know, memories last longer than dreams. She wrote and we actually put that on her headstone. Memories, and it's true. And this organisation proves that when you talk to everybody as well. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thanks for all your contributions. I don't know what subject we'll come up with next week, but if anybody's got any ideas about any subject that they think we could extrapolate, say, hey, lad from West. Hey, extrapolate. Is that right? Is that right, Keith? Extrapolate.
Well, we'll go with suggest.
Yeah. All right. You can take the lad out to Leyland. But so yeah, any subject at all that you think it will bring back memories to different this and different, you know. I mean, one suddenly come to mind here as a Catholic, and was the walking day in Manchester, when all the Catholics used to walk in Manchester, and I think they had the same. Yeah. Did they have the same for the Church of England, Keith? Did they have the walking day? Yeah. We'll not go into it now. But just chat about
whips. The whip walks and the band contest, the local, the band contests around Saddleworth villages. It was all.
Yeah, they did all the best bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get your pea shooter.
Yeah, you are.
All kids are pea shooters.
What?
Because they were let loose, weren't they? So like, all lads would get pea shooters to try and annoy the girls and whatever.
It's all coming out now. No, it's all coming out. No wonder. I'm surprised they let you in, Margate.
No, well they didn't. They let us in Westgate. It was 2 mile down road.
Anyway, time is getting on. I'll hand back to Keith. Thanks very much for all your contributions, everybody. It was brilliant.
Brilliant. Well done, Norman. Thank you. Thank you.